Students in Weber and Morgan counties are about to return to class without a mask mandate in place.
Children need to see faces.
The huge turnout as people on both sides voiced their concerns.
It's a simple matter of public health, and I don't think this has to be political.
And why the decision isn't final yet.
I just want to be able to sleep at night knowing my kids are at school safe.
A lawsuit filed over Utah's ban on mask mandates in schools.
He spent years developing a career of widespread lies, and now he's being rewarded with $175,000 from the University of Utah. We'll show you what else is part of that settlement.
What we're doing here locally is affecting the entire world.
They're sending world-class athletes to compete using world-class equipment made here in Utah.
We're restoring these people's lives.
The role they're playing in this year's Paralympic Games.
Live from Utah's news leader, Fox 13 News at 9 starts right now.
This week, students in Weber County will return to the classroom, and when they do, they will not be required to wear masks.
Citizens crowded the Weber Morgan Health Department board meeting today, voicing their strong feelings on a mask mandate in school. Fox 13's John Franke is live in Ogden tonight. John.
Well, hey guys, there's a bit of a different dynamic in this health district as it deals with two counties, Weber and Morgan, with two very different demographics. And any mandate that came from here would have to be approved by county commissions in both of those counties. And while there was no mandate here today, this issue isn't quite over yet.
We have shown how to run a country by freedom. And that's why so many others have chosen to do the same thing.
Dozens of people chose to be a part of democracy and have their say at Monday's meeting of the Weber Morgan Health Board. The overflow crowd all here for one item on the agenda: masks in schools.
Children need to see faces. They need to understand when they look at their teacher and their friends what those emotions mean.
But this wasn't a one-sided discussion. While many held signs advocating against face coverings, several parents implored the board to issue a mandate.
The second thing I learned is that my son's already being bullied at school for wearing his mask. Our children have disincentive to help and love those who are next to them.
It's a simple matter of public health, and I don't think this has to be political. But if it must, I'd remind this board that the Constitution establishes our government for the purpose of the general welfare, which to me would include things like public health. A mask is, in my opinion, no more an infringement upon civil liberty than a prohibition against drunk driving.
Had over 37.5 million cases.
The board is presented with stats that show currently in Weber County, 101 kids aged 5 to 12 are battling COVID. In Morgan County, that number is 6. As the board discussed their next steps, some in the hallway began to sing.
Having said that, I've listened, I've been open-minded, I've read every communication that's come through the health department. I've listened to all of your comments. I've tried to be open-minded about it, really hard.
Or how do you vote?
Aye. The board voted unanimously to direct County Health Director Brian Cohen to work with the county commissions to develop policies that work for schools in both Weber and Morgan counties. There was no vote on any mandate, meaning this issue could very likely come up again.
And members of the board indicated they like what Summit County is doing by requiring masks for elementary school students when their school hits a certain threshold of COVID-19 cases, but not even that was voted on here today. Reporting live in Ogden tonight, John Franke, Fox 13 News, Utah.
John, thank you. Meanwhile, the Ogden chapter of the NAACP is disappointed by today's decision.
The group says 58% of students in the Ogden district are Latino. They are concerned starting the school year without a mask mandate will negatively impact those students and their families because statistics show the virus has disproportionately affected members of the Latinx community.
I believe in data, and I think that if it's a data-driven decision and we can come up with what's best locally for each, but we have to make sure that there aren't limitations on Director Cohen as he makes those decisions.
Castillo adds the organization would support different parameters for Weber and Morgan counties because the counties have different demographics.
Well, tomorrow is the first day of school for the Salt Lake City School District, and students will be wearing masks. However, tonight, Salt Lake City Mayor Aaron Mendenhall's school mask mandate is coming under fire from a powerful member of the Utah legislature. House Majority Whip Mike Schultz says the mayor's action under emergency powers laws is not what lawmakers intended.
The legislature set a pathway forward, and that's with the local health departments to work with the local elected county officials. It was never the intent of the legislature to give a mayor this type of authority.
Representative Schultz says there will be legislation to further clarify what constitutes an emergency and what powers are granted.
This is why we're doing this, yeah. And because it's the right thing to do.
A lawsuit has been filed against the state of Utah and Salt Lake County over restrictions on school mask mandates. A coalition of parents filed the suit today. They're demanding the laws be struck down. Fox 13's Ben Winslow broke the story earlier today and continues our back-to-school team coverage.
And now we're going into fall, and RSV has been here since July and in full force. And children under 12 are still ineligible for vaccines.
Ashley Vates is suing on behalf of her 7-year-old child, Ezra, who has asthma and is a hemophiliac.
Because it's the right thing to do. Because there are 28 other counties and 40 other school districts with children who have needs and who have rights.
We're simply Utah parents and community members who care about the health of our community and our kids and your kids.
A coalition of parents are suing the state of Utah and Salt Lake County over laws that block schools from implementing mask mandates. They argue the laws the Utah legislature passed this year preventing mask mandates block their at-risk children from getting an in-person education.
There's a lot of vulnerable kids out there. I'm like one of thousands of families in Utah who's currently going through this, and I feel like we need to be acknowledged, we exist, and I feel like our kids deserve a safe in-person learning environment, or as safe as possibly can be.
What the legislature passed allows a local health department to issue a mandate, but a county commission or council can overturn it. So far, Grand County has allowed one. Salt Lake County's council overturned one for children under age 12 who can't be vaccinated.
The Utah Constitution provides that every Utah resident is entitled to a free and safe public education. These laws that have been enacted by our legislature since seem to fly in the face of that. And they say, well, you can still go to school, but you don't have to wear a mask. If that's not safe, then you're effectively saying you can't go to school. And these kids want to go to school. They want to get the education that they're entitled to under our Constitution.
The lawsuit seeks an emergency restraining order to block the law from being enforced, allowing schools to implement mask requirements if they want to.
None of us want money. You know, I just want to be able to sleep at night knowing my kids are at school safe as they can.
A judge could schedule a hearing in a matter of days. No comment on the lawsuit from the governor's office, the attorney general's office, and the Salt Lake County District Attorney. At the Matheson Courthouse, Ben Winslow, Fox 13 News, Utah.
What a gorgeous evening to end really a great day. Finally break some relief when it comes to seeing clear and breathing a little easier around the state.
We got it all. Calm winds, sunny skies, less smoke. I like to keep it this way, but let's just kind of highlight what we saw throughout the state. This was the scene near Moab right at sunset, and this was really the scene statewide. We had blue skies. You could see for miles. Air quality tremendously improving here, especially over the past 24 hours. Temperatures bumping up, though. It was a warm day, slightly above normal. We got up to 92 degrees in Salt Lake City. On average, it should be about 90 degrees, so we brought the summer heat back. Not as extreme, but we did find temperatures in the upper 90s in St. George, 80s in Cedar City. Looks like 90s from Delta as we look towards Richfield as well. Now, air quality, good. Look at all these green dots here on the map. As air quality improving, smoke moving away. We turn the flow out of the south that pushed the clouds to the north. Now tracking, I shouldn't say clouds, smoke, tracking through areas such as Idaho, Wyoming, and into Montana. So good and green light here all across the state. That's a good sign right now. We show you the satellite radar, hardly any moisture around. We had a few isolated showers there, northeastern Utah. All in all, we're going to keep it clear tonight. Overnight lows dipping down into the mid-60s. However, smoke trying to make a comeback. When does it return? I'll let you know coming up.
Coming up on Fox 13 News at 9.
The University of Utah is getting ready to pay $175,000 to an executive who fooled them, but not us, about the claims on his resume.
We're not taking anything off the table. We're investigating this at every possible avenue for every possible thing.
2 women found dead in Moab. Tonight, the sheriff is answering some questions from residents.
And could the products made at this West Valley City company help someone earn a gold medal in this year's Paralympics? We'll take you inside.
The long wait is over for Tony Finau. Finally wins his second event on the PGA Tour. I'll have the highlights and post-game coming up.
New at 9, 4 people were sent to the hospital after a stabbing in Orem. Police got the call just before 5:30 this afternoon on a report of a man stabbing people at a house at 14th South and 7th East. In all, officers say 3 people were stabbed multiple times. The suspect and the 3 victims were all hospitalized. The suspect has been taken into police custody. Police will release more information tomorrow, and of course, we will keep you updated as we learn more.
The Food and Drug Administration has granted Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine full approval for people 16 and older. The FDA says the Pfizer vaccine may not completely prevent someone from getting COVID-19, but it will decrease the chance of that happening and lower the risk of becoming seriously ill.
The vaccine was 91% effective in preventing COVID-19 disease. The vaccine is clearly effective in preventing hospitalization and death, but may not always prevent infections, symptoms of transmission of the virus from person to person.
And even though the full FDA approval only covers people 16 years and older, children between 12 and 15 can still get the Pfizer vaccine under the emergency use approval. The Moderna and Johnson & Johnson vaccines are also available but have not yet received full approval. They are currently being administered under the FDA's emergency use authorization. Well, 2 of Utah's largest healthcare providers, the University of Utah Health and Intermountain Healthcare, says there's now no longer any excuse for not getting a COVID shot.
Dr. Tamara Sheffield is Intermountain's medical director for preventative medicine. She understands there has been a huge debate over the shots, but says the FDA approval should put all minds at ease.
Some individuals have been concerned that the vaccine's development has been rushed or cut corners, which really was not the case. The full FDA approval now validates the emergency use authorization that was granted to the vaccine 8 months ago.
Dr. Andrew Pavia is the chief of pediatric infectious diseases at U of U Health and head of epidemiology at Intermountain Primary Children's Hospital. He agrees the shot is safe and effective for everyone 12 and older. As for younger children, that's still being decided.
Right now, the studies are looking at what the appropriate dose is for younger children, and we just don't have data yet. We should have that within a matter of weeks, so I think parents are the ones who are really very understandably anxious to get their kids vaccinated.
Both experts say that to get FDA approval, the vaccine has gone through rigorous testing on everything from effectiveness to quality control.
In world news, evacuations now picking up tonight in Kabul, but the situation does remain tense. Thousands of people are still stranded, supplies are limited, and the deadline for the U.S. troop withdrawal is now just 8 days away.
Believe me, the pain and the suffering, the fear, the anxiety, all of that, none of it is lost on us or our troops.
Within the last 24 hours, the Pentagon says 16,000 people have been evacuated from Kabul. But amid the chaos and despair, a moment of joy. A baby girl was born in the cargo bay of a U.S. Air Force jet as it landed in Germany. You can see the pictures here. Medics rushed in to care for the mother and child, who are said to be in good condition.
Catastrophic rainfall has brought tragedy to central Tennessee. Rising floodwaters are claiming homes, businesses, schools, and lives. Among the dead, 7-month-old twins, swept out of their father's arms by the powerful water. Others were stranded on rooftops, waiting to be rescued.
If anything had to happen to me, I'd want my kid to live, so I put her up on the roof.
6 to 8 inches of rain was forecast to fall in some places, but instead over 17 inches fell, unleashing floods that are causing widespread devastation.
Wow.
The stories and pictures are heartbreaking to see coming out
wrenching.
of Tennessee.
Yeah.
Flooding there, the East Coast hit with a hurricane this past weekend. We're doing a little better out west.
We are doing a little better. I mean, just put it in perspective. You know, we get overwhelmed with 1 or 2 inches of rain. To imagine that over 17 inches. My goodness. Well, we, of course, here over the past 48 hours, seeing a break from the rain. Last Saturday, we had that front move through. Haven't seen much activity since then. In addition, we've been pushing the smoke away. It looked a lot better. We felt more confident to breathe in that air. Yeah, air quality has been good, especially moving through the afternoon. Now, the official high today in Salt Lake City, 92 degrees. You see where we should be on average. Record for this day, 99 degrees. We're going to keep 90s around at least for a couple of days. We don't get too hot, but we got to talk about the smoke situation. Not a big concern right now. I mentioned air quality is good. Temperatures currently in the 80s in Salt Lake City, upper 70s in Ogden, Provo, upper 70s as well. Overnight lows getting down into the 60s. So again, if we got a little too warm, we can cool off our houses tonight. Open up that window. Shouldn't be a problem. As I mentioned, air quality, green light, both northern, central, eastern, southern Utah. Looks to change, though, as we look ahead with our computer models, with the expectation and the forecast of where the smoke is heading. As we are seeing a southwesterly flow, what's happening is the flow is going over California, sweeping down, and then pushing in. Today, that meant the smoke was moving away, but we're getting an additional supply, another batch of smoke, if you will, especially as we look across northern, west central, towards southwestern Utah here over the next 24 hours, which will continue to filter in heading into Wednesday as well. So we're going to kind of split the state in half. Looks like central towards eastern Utah, you're going to be okay, but it's that northern throughout southwestern Utah, yeah, we're going to see air quality decreasing. Tomorrow, we're probably in the yellow, potentially some spots in the orange. Now, it doesn't get too bad. We don't get very unhealthy. We don't expect to see, that red as we have seen, of course, in the past, even just last week. But just know, at least for the next 3 days, a downgrade there as we look at air quality. But it should be fairly short-lived. Now, as we're seeing high pressure off towards the east, ushering in that dry southwest flow, we'll keep it dry. Now, we had a few isolated showers northeastern Utah. That's moving away. We don't have any concerns with any rain come tomorrow. We could see a little moisture for the mountains on Wednesday, maybe an isolated shower over the higher train, but all in all, really for the valleys, we're keeping it dry. And as I show you now the flow, again, southwest flow has been favorable today, but as we look upstream, that flow coming over the state of California, right where the fires are out and dragging it again across western Utah here as we move ahead. Now, one sign of good news is we do have a cool front that's going to sweep through. It's a dry, cool front, but hopefully mixes things out so we don't keep the smoke around for too long. Now, we're not going to completely get rid of the smoke at all. That's just not going to be the case, but improvements hopefully expected towards the end of the week. So for tomorrow, we start to see the impact. Northern, west central, southwestern Utah, again lingering on into Wednesday as well. Highs very similar to what we found today. Low 90s as we look in Salt Lake City, mid to upper 80s. Ogden through Provo, 80s through central Utah, and close to triple digits in St. George. We get into the triple digit territory Wednesday, Thursday. Again, you'll see some smoke tomorrow. Start to see it push away Wednesday, Thursday, keeping it clear and hot heading into the weekend. Northern Utah doesn't get too hot. We actually cool down just a little bit. I showed you that cool front, which will bring in that cooler air. We'll keep it in the mid to upper 80s through the weekend. And again, no chance of rain. And again, hopefully to see that smoke move away for the next couple of days. Looks like it might be a little thicker.
Thanks, Breck. An Olympic athlete says proposed changes to Little Cottonwood Canyon will harm their sport. We'll talk with one of the best rock climbers in the world as he fights for his passion.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back. An Olympic medal winner now lending his support to save the iconic boulders of Little Cottonwood Canyon. Murray native Nathaniel Coleman won the silver medal in sport climbing at the Tokyo Games. It was the first time sport climbing was included in the Olympics. Coleman learned to climb on the boulders in Little Cottonwood Canyon. The 24-year-old is worried now that construction of a proposed 8-mile-long, $500 million gondola would forever change the world-renowned climbing area.
You see USA Climbing moving their headquarters here. Competition climbing is becoming, is building a culture in Salt Lake City. So if we want to continue to invest in that as a city, this is a big statement on whether or not climbing is valued.
UDOT is considering two plans to lessen traffic in the canyon, the gondola being one of them. Coleman says the best solution would be restriping the road to include a dedicated lane for electric buses, along with incentives for carpooling. Today's event was the second in the past 3 days opposing construction in Little Cottonwood Canyon.
Now's the time to say goodbye to all our company. MICKEY. MOUSE. That's true, at least at City Creek Center in downtown Salt Lake City. I don't write them, I just read them. That's not true. The Disney store there will be closing next month. In March, Disney announced it would be closing 60 of its retail locations. Control yourself, Kelly. And today we learned the Salt Lake City store will be one of them. Disney is shifting away from malls to smaller shops inside Target stores.
That's going to be missed. That was a cool store.
Yeah.
Coming up after the break.
They deserve justice, no matter what.
A double murder in Moab. About a week later, we're hearing from the sheriff to find out who's coming in to help and where they're at with the investigation.
Members of the public and even the former mayor of Salt Lake City are upset that the University of Utah is giving more than $100,000 to an executive who lied his way into the job.
The Paiute tribe believes that indigenous children are believed to be buried here in this unmarked cemetery near Pingwich. I'm Haley Higgins with the story.
Coming up, we'll hear from the Utes on their quarterback situation and Tony Finau, a big winner on the PGA Tour.
The University of Utah has agreed to pay $175,000 to an executive who tricked them with outlandish claims about his work experience to get his job.
Fox 13 News investigative reporter Adam Herbets exposed the executive's career of widespread lies 2 months ago. And tonight he has the latest update in this saga.
Well, Bob, Kelly, at one point the University of Utah told us the punishment for lying on a resume could be termination, but instead they kept Christopher Massimine on the payroll for 2 months and then agreed to pay him $175,000 to resign from his job as executive director of Pioneer Theater Company. That resignation went into effect last week, with Massimine announcing that there was, quote, a fair amount of truth within the reporting and that he will be stepping away from his six-figure salary due to mental illness. This all after we found out he either lied or greatly exaggerated claims that he was a major player in the film, television, music, video game, advertising, and theater industries, lying about working on TV shows with Paris Hilton, creating commercials for companies like Old Spice, and producing some of the most well-known video games of the last 2 decades, like Final Fantasy. According to the University of Utah, that $175,000 will come entirely out of Pioneer Theater Company's budget, which includes grants and donor funds. This is despite the fact that Pioneer Theater administrators had no say in the settlement or any employment decisions.
They are a nonprofit entity serving the public. It may hurt the company quite a bit. A company I love, a company I've seen amazing art at.
According to a current employee of the theater, Christopher Massimine, quote, shouldn't get a dime. In fact, he should be paying the theater back. And according to Rocky Anderson, the former mayor of Salt Lake City, why would the U pay anything to this disgraceful liar to get him to resign? I'd have fired him, pressed criminal charges, and sued him for fraud, embezzlement, and more. Why is the public's money being paid to a scamster to avoid scrutiny of university officials? Of course, as part of the settlement, both sides have agreed to not pursue any further legal action. Reporting in studio, Adam Herbets, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Just into the Fox 13 newsroom, we're now learning more about a deadly crash on I-15 in Pleasant Grove this afternoon. Utah Highway Patrol says the 75-year-old driver of a semi-truck lost a wheel and crashed into a concrete barrier throwing him out of the vehicle. Now, witnesses reportedly tell troopers the driver was then dragged under the truck as it kept going down the interstate. Troopers have not released the driver's identity. This did lead to the HOV lanes being shut down for hours. Traffic also off the freeway was in gridlock for hours this afternoon as motorists sought alternate routes. UHP says all lanes of I-15 in American Fork and Pleasant Grove are now back open.
Now to a developing story in Moab. The FBI has joined the investigation into the deaths of 2 women found dead in the LaSalle Mountains last week.
Fox 13's Sydney Glenn spoke with the Grand County Sheriff about how the murders of Kylan Schulte and Crystal Turner are now rocking Moab.
The community's pretty stirred up right now.
A small, peaceful town known for their scenery.
There's a lot of curiosity in the town.
Now the site of a double murder.
I think this is the first double homicide we've ever had.
People want answers.
It's hard knowing that we can't figure anything out and we can't find these people that did it to them.
What happened to Kylan Schulte and Crystal Turner?
We're hoping there's lots of transparency with our local officials. That's our biggest concern right now.
Grand County Sheriff Stephen White says they have brought in the FBI and State Bureau of Investigation to help.
Everything is being done that we can possibly do. That's why we've asked for the additional resources. We want to make sure that we do this thorough, we do it complete, and we do it right.
He says deputies are working extra hours, extra shifts.
We're not taking anything off the table. We're investigating this at every possible avenue for every possible thing.
Everyone in this scenic town is searching for answers.
If you're scared or anything or know anything, just come forward because they deserve it. They deserve justice, no matter what.
The sheriff says they have received a lot of tips, but they are hoping people will continue to call in as this investigation is ongoing. In Moab, Sydney Glenn, Fox 13 News, Utah.
New at 9, Brigham Young University President Kevin Worthen announced the formation of a new Office of Belonging today. It came up during the annual university conference for faculty and staff held in the Marriott Center on campus. The office's creation comes after an in-depth report by BYU's Committee on Race, Equity, and Belonging back in February. Its purpose is to address the needs of all marginalized individuals on campus by coordinating and enhancing belonging services and efforts and rooting out racism and prejudice of any kind. During that same conference, LDS Church Apostle Elder Jeffrey R. Holland called attention to what he referred to as friendly fire from some BYU faculty and staff over the church's stance on same-sex marriage and other issues. He said some instructors have publicly criticized the church and its doctrines when they should have been defending it. He also questioned why a valedictorian student would use his commencement speech 2 years ago to come out as gay. Elder Holland says BYU could mimic every other university in the world, and the world would still say, BYU who?
We must have the will to be different, to stand alone if necessary, being a university second to none in its role primarily as an undergraduate teaching institution that is unequivocally true to the gospel of the Lord Jesus Christ. If at a future time that mission means foregoing some professional affiliations and certifications, then so be it.
Elder Holland's remarks sparked a firestorm on social media, some calling it disastrous. Our content partners at the Salt Lake Tribune report Matt Easton, the gay valedictorian, was surprised and disappointed by Elder Holland's reference to him, but that he is proud of what he did and stands by it.
Forgotten part of Utah's history leads to a possible unmarked cemetery near Panguitch. Why indigenous children are believed to be buried here.
Panguitch had a boarding school because no one knows it's there.
The remains of Paiute children forced into a southern Utah boarding school are believed to be buried in an unmarked cemetery.
Fox 13's Haley Higgins reports from Panguitch, where the tribe, also a local historian, hope to uncover a secret that has been kept for more than a century.
These kids that shouldn't have been here in the first place and had bad things happening to them and have just been here without their families knowing about it.
Students as young as 6 years old, taken from their tribe, forced to live at a Panguitch boarding school overseen by the federal government. Some children taken at gunpoint from the St. George and Moccasin, Arizona areas.
I was just shocked that I didn't know that one of those existed, like in this town that I grew up in. Like, it was shocking.
Historic Preservation Director Stephen Lee came across a small reference to the Panguitch Indian School last year, a facility not unlike those in other parts of the U.S. and Canada used to assimilate indigenous people.
It wasn't an uncommon thing for students to die at boarding schools, most often from disease, tuberculosis especially. So it wasn't uncommon, and I don't see why it wouldn't be the same here.
The boarding school operated from 1904 to 1909 and shut down because of rampant illness and low enrollment, according to Lee. He suspects nearly 150 children were sent to the school, but in fact ended up being forced into farm labor. Some children ran away, others never left.
They lost their cultural, their language, their identity, because the whole point was to assimilate us into a workforce.
The story first reported by the Salt Lake Tribune and Southern Utah reporter Alastair Lee Bistel.
I did get nauseous from it just because I am aware of those narratives that exist in Native communities. And so like for me to write about it, I think it actually took me out.
With more awareness of the boarding school and a possible cemetery, Paiute band leaders hope the children can be identified and honored properly.
Stuff has been pushed under the rug, and I think that's appalling.
Well, the tribe is hoping for archaeologists from Utah State University to come here with ground-penetrating radar to see if and how many Paiute children are buried here. Reporting near Panguitch, Haley Higgins, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Still ahead, world-class athletes will be competing in the Paralympics starting tomorrow. See how one West Valley City company is helping Paralympians succeed and potentially break world records when we come back.
And coming up in sports, Kyle Whittingham addressed the Utah quarterback situation, sort of. And what a day for Utah's Tony Finau. Great back nine has him on top of the FedEx Cup standings to start the playoffs. Tony Finau has waited more than 5 years to get his second victory on the PGA Tour, always getting the same question: when will you win again? Today was the day at the Northern Trust. Tropical storm in the New York area pushed the fun around to Monday. Finau played great on the back nine. Nice approach shot here at the 12th hole. Knocks it close to set up a birdie to get to 16 under par, two behind leader Jon Rahm. Then on the par 5 13th, second shot from 217 yards to the hole, a 6-iron, an incredible shot. Stops right below the hole, setting up an eagle. Finau made the eagle putt, and just like that, he was tied for the lead with Rahm at 18 under par. He kept the streak going. Next hole, the 14th, long birdie putt for Finau. It's tracking from 30 feet, drops in for a birdie to get to 19 under par. 16th hole, rolls in another birdie to get to 20 under par. Tied for the lead with Rahm. He would fall back, though, leaving Tony on top. But Cameron Smith made a late run. Birdie at 16, then here at 17. He was tied with Finau at 20 under par. Tony hit his second shot in the 18th greenside bunker, but he made a clutch par putt. Final round 65 was in at 20 under par. Finau and Smith finished tied, but on the first playoff hole, after Finau found the fairway, Smith hit his tee shot out of bounds. Big-time advantage for Tony, and Finau would win it with a par putt. His second win on the PGA Tour. He has 39 top 10 finishes and 8 runner-up finishes since that first win in 2016 at the Puerto Rico Open, and now he moves to #1 in the FedEx standings with 2 tournaments to play.
This is quite cool. It's been a long time since my last win. I'm a totally different player, and it's almost been, I think, a blessing in disguise that I had to wait this long, because I've polished my game to a place where I think I can start to win more, hopefully more often than I have in the past.
The Salt Lake Tribune reported today that Charlie Brewer was named the Utes starting quarterback. Head coach Kyle Whittingham said the team knows, but that's it. Fox 13's Andrea Urban has more.
The Utes QB1 has not been released yet. Now, Thursday is the day that Coach Whittingham will release that depth chart, and we will find out who will lead this Utah offense.
We'll have a depth chart on Thursday, and that's how we're going to handle it. I guess somebody said that somebody made some predictions or think they know what's up. I guess they have a 50-50 shot, so they might be right. But we'll have a depth chart for you, definitive depth chart on Thursday.
Coach Witt came in and he was pretty hot that it got released and said, you know, I'm releasing a depth chart on Thursday. So it's not about what information was leaked, it's just about the fact that it was.
We just said we'd announce it Thursday, and so that's just stick with the plan. You know, just not be wishy-washy, not worry about who thinks they know what out there or whatever. Just stick with our plan and go about our business, not be reactionary.
Charlie Brewer or Cam Rising, you really can't go wrong. I'm looking forward to whoever's name will be on that depth chart. At the U, Andrea Urban, Fox 13 Sports.
So we'll know on Thursday, but it's Charlie Brewer.
Stick with the plan.
I think that's what we just found out.
I think Kyle Whittingham just threw a football at you.
He was not happy today.
I can imagine.
Information.
No, that might have been a really big, exciting announcement, and especially for the guys too. Especially if he told them, "Hey, I don't know yet."
No, he told them this morning, but then it leaked out to everybody else.
Well, word gets around. Social media may have something to do with that.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jeff.
Heard it first. All right. Let's talk about the weather, getting you ready for tomorrow, where today it was spectacular. Of course, improvements with the smoke. You could see for miles, breathing easier. We're looking at across the state, those conditions persisting, and that was clear. We're not worried about smoke, at least for tonight. Current conditions in St. George are at 89 degrees, winds out of the west at 6 miles per hour. Low humidity. Now, it got breezy throughout the afternoon. And normally, of course, this past summer, we've been seeing when we get those conditions, fire weather danger a bigger concern. But because we've been getting the rain, it's not as big of a concern as we look across the state. We'll be a little breezy tomorrow, but we're looking at mostly clear skies right now. As we're seeing the flow out of the south, we're seeing those winds. As you can see, the wind direction southwest. That's been pushing the smoke away here over the past 24 hours. But we're going to see some of that smoke return. We're not seeing the rain returning. No, as we take a look from the Storm Prediction Center, a lot of the thunderstorm activity, the rain showers well east of the state. We're high and dry moving forward. Next several days for the valleys, we just don't see much of a threat of rain. Maybe over the mountains Wednesday through Thursday, an isolated shower, but all in all, we're not focusing on the rain. But let's talk about the focus for the smoke, where as we look right now across the state, smoke looking like it's going to begin moving in. Yes, that southwest flow pushing the smoke away, but you look upstream how the flow is positioned, where it's moving across Northern California, then sweeping southward, and then moving through the state, as we'll see that pattern setting up as we move Tuesday into Wednesday. But by Thursday, we see another cool front, which will hopefully mix things out. So if we do see smoke increasing, which we will, we'll see some improvements Thursday through Friday here across the state. So looking at your hour-by-hour forecast, a little bit more smoke here for tomorrow. We start off with temperatures in the 60s. Looks like afternoon highs very similar to what we found today. We're back close to 90 degrees in Salt Lake City, mid to upper 80s from Ogden through Provo. Looks like 70s in Park City. A string of 80s from Vernal down through Price. 90s in Moab, close to 100 degrees in St. George. Now, really, as we look at the smoke, it will be positioning itself through northern, western, southwestern Utah. So we're cutting the state in half there with the smoke. Air quality decreasing will be more to a moderate, maybe potentially carrying over into an unhealthy situation there as we go into Wednesday. Now, looking at your 7-day forecast, we're going to be taking a look at temperatures near 100 degrees. Yeah, that smoke around for St. George. Then we clear out quite nicely, keeping it dry for the next 7 days. Triple-digit temperatures Wednesday through Thursday, even warmer as we head through the weekend. 104, 103 as we head into Monday. We'll keep temperatures in the triple digits. Now for northern Utah, it's 90 degrees, 91. Smoke around Tuesday into Wednesday. Start to see some improvements as we head into Thursday. Looks like we'll be looking at mid-80s on with that cool front tracking through. Mid-80s Thursday through Friday into the weekend as well. And we're not seeing a chance of showers here as we look over the next 7 days. Now we might see an isolated mountain shower Thursday into Friday, but all in all, temperatures, we don't get too hot. Yeah, a couple of days with some smoke, but we're getting a break from the storms and we're saying goodbye to the rain, at least for now. We'll be back right after the break.
Listen to this. A fabrication plant in West Valley City is playing a huge role in the Paralympics, which officially kick off tomorrow in Tokyo.
Fox 13's Lauren Steinbrecher takes us inside Autobach and shows us how innovations here in Utah are supporting and empowering Paralympic athletes in a way that is positively Utah.
Each person here is working on building, creating life-changing technology at Autobach, manufacturing carbon fiber feet and liners for prosthetics.
And that's the model that we're going to work with.
The products are constantly evolving with new innovations, and over the next couple weeks,
these are running blades that could likely go with us to the Paralympic Games.
Will be put to the ultimate test.
These as well.
In front of the world at the Tokyo Paralympics.
The 1E90 sprinter foot. It's a carbon fiber sprinter foot that you'll see all the world's greatest record-breaking Paralympians running on.
It's not just products from Utah that Autobach is sending across the Pacific.
I'll be spending most of my days on the track and field in the main big stadium servicing those running prostheses.
Jeff Waldmuller was chosen to help these athletes stay on their game. He understands how important that is.
About 12 years ago, I lost my limb in a motorcycle accident with a semi-truck, and that turned me into a career path of getting into prosthetics. But I also competed as an athlete, and I was very active beforehand, and I want to continue that level of activities.
As an adaptive athlete himself, Jeff will watch Paralympians push the boundaries, break new world records, and he'll know part of the work it took to make that happen started here in Utah.
We can help them to be able to compete at their absolute best.
In West Valley City, Lauren Steinbrecher, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Lotto lovers, are you out there? Listen up to this. Powerball is adding to its weekly lineup of drawings. The game is putting in place a third drawing on Mondays to go with regular Wednesday and Saturday drawings. Powerball will also add a new feature called Double Play, where players in some locations get another chance to match their Powerball numbers for a top cash prize of $10 million. This is all supposed to lead to jackpots growing faster and bigger overall. This just keeps getting better and better, doesn't it, guys? Of course, though, if you want to play the game, you have to travel outside of Utah to any of our neighboring states to get in on the lotto.
I'm saying I've never done that.
Yeah, right. Thanks for watching Fox 13 News at 9.
Jackpot.
Quick cast up next.